Welcome to Disney Coast to Coast, a show celebrating and questioning one of the most beloved entertainment companies in the world through honest, passionate, and clear-eyed Disney discussions. I'm Jeff DePauli, your entertainment-obsessed host with rose-colored glasses removed. Today in the show, we have the House of Mouse headlines brought to you by LaughingPlace.com, your up-to-date resource for the latest Disney news every day of the week. This episode is being released on October 5th, 2022, and here's what's been going on in the world of Disney recently. A Figment film in the works, Epcot's 40th anniversary, after-hours events returning to Walt Disney World, and more.
Hear the latest news from the Walt Disney Company in today's House of Mouse headlines.
The Tokyo Disney Resort will be celebrating its landmark 40th anniversary next year with its Dream Go Round event. Starting April 15th, 2023, the celebration will include a new daytime parade, Disney's Harmony in Color, which will feature vibrant colors and characters from such films as Zootopia, Moana, Wreck-It Ralph, and Coco. Of course, special 40th anniversary decorations, merchandise, food items, and much more will also be part of the Dream Go Round celebration. With Japan finally reopening to tourists, perhaps Tokyo Disneyland's 40th anniversary will be the perfect time to visit this unique park and resort. Hong Kong Disneyland recently added a new tier to its demand-priced ticketing. While current prices for one-day tickets for peak days and regular days will remain unchanged, a new one-day Peak Plus Day ticket is being introduced for the most popular days and seasons. These new tickets are priced at 759 Hong Kong dollars, which is about 96 US dollars. Elsewhere, the park is also raising prices for its Magic Access annual pass program, with the largest increase amounting to about $35 USD. More information on ticket prices and dates can be found on the Hong Kong Disneyland website. On the heels of MagicBand Plus rolling out at Walt Disney World, we are now nearing a West Coast debut. According to the Disney Parks blog, MagicBand Plus will premiere at the Disneyland Resort this fall. When it does, guests will find a number of similar functionalities to what's available at Walt Disney World, such as being able to link tickets to your MagicBand Plus and using them for entry, as well as redeeming Lightning Lane reservations and linking PhotoPass photos. Additionally, these bands will glow with the show, syncing up with some of the resort's popular nighttime spectaculars, while the interactive game Batuu Bounty Hunters will also be coming to Disneyland's Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. However, at this time, a tap-to-pay feature, such as the one that Walt Disney World Resort hotel guests have been able to set up, will not be available, nor will hotel room entry via MagicBand. Also of note, while MagicBand Plus bands will work at both the Walt Disney World and Disneyland resorts, no past generations of MagicBand will be supported at the latter. At the time of this recording, no specific launch date has been confirmed, but we can likely expect one very soon. Next year, Walt Disney World's popular but pricey after-hours events will be returning. These will once again be offered at Disney's Hollywood Studios starting January 4th and Magic Kingdom beginning January 9th. As a reminder, Disney After Hours is a separate ticket event where you can enjoy one of the theme parks for an additional 3 hours after regular park hours, with entry as early as 7 p.m. Your ticket also includes all you care to enjoy treats such as ice cream, popcorn, and select beverages during the event times. Tickets for Magic Kingdom and Disney's Hollywood Studios After Hours can be purchased by all guests starting October 7th, 2022, with prices ranging from $129 to $159 plus tax. It was way back in 2019 when it was announced that Ducktales World Showcase Adventure would be replacing the Agent P attraction of a similar name. Since then, the Disney Channel show ended its run, leaving many to assume that the overhaul would not be moving forward. Alas, that seems not to be the case, as the Disney Parks blog confirms that the Ducktales World Showcase Adventure would indeed be debuting later this year. When it does launch, the game will invite guests to join Scrooge McDuck, Donald, nephews Huey, Dewey, and Louie, Launchpad, and Webby in search of priceless treasure. Using the Play Disney Parks mobile app, guests take a trip around World Showcase discovering exotic destinations, exciting mysteries, and maybe even a few thieves, villains, and supernatural guardians of ancient artifacts. No official opening date has been announced as of recording, so stay tuned. Carol Stein, who is lovingly known as the Epcot Piano Lady, has announced her retirement from Walt Disney World. According to a post on her Facebook page, Stein will be resigning her full-time position as a musician at Walt Disney World on Saturday, November 5th, 2022. However, she notes that she will remain on as a seasonal cast member to perform as a musician for special events. Stein has performed all over the resort, with locations including Pleasure Island, the Grand Floridian, Magic Kingdom, Disney's Hollywood Studios, Disney's Animal Kingdom, and of course, Epcot. You can catch Carol performing at the Rose and Crown Pub on November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd before her official full-time retirement. After initially rejecting the Walt Disney Company's attempted donation in March of this year, the Human Rights Campaign has now accepted that contribution. The announcement of the original donation was made by Disney CEO Bob Chapek as part of an apology for his lack of vocal opposition regarding Florida's parental rights and education law, known by some as the Don't Say Gay bill. In a statement, a spokesperson for the Human Rights Campaign said, "Over the last several months, we've been having very productive conversations with Disney about the impact of anti-LGBTQ+ laws and policies and what they can do to help our community." Adding, "Disney has stood firm in their commitments to our community, and the company has taken real action to meet their employees' needs and lean into their values of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're grateful for Disney's meaningful and ongoing engagement around the impact of anti-LGBTQ+ laws and policies, which builds on the company's many years of strong support for the LGBTQ+ community, and are thankful to them for their support of HRC's work." The Disney Cruise Line will soon be making a major update to its health and safety guidelines. Beginning October 14th, the Disney Wonder, Disney Dream, Disney Fantasy, and Disney Wish sailings, and starting November 7th for the Disney Magic sailings, Disney Cruise Line will no longer require guests to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19 at the time of sailing. However, it is still highly recommended. All guests aged 5 years and older who are not fully vaccinated will need to submit proof of a negative COVID-19 test taken 1 to 2 days before the sail date, while guests ages 4 years of age and younger do not require testing. For more information, be sure to check out Disney Cruise Line's Know Before You Go page on their website. With Hocus Pocus 2 now streaming on Disney+, we may have a hint at what could be next for the Sanderson sisters. Recently, the film's executive producer and previous DCTC guest, David Kirshner, teased that a staged musical version of the movie was in the works. In an interview with the Broadway podcast network's The Art of Kindness, Kirshner said of the adaptation, quote, "This started before COVID, but now it seems to be back on, and that is that they are building a Broadway version of Hocus Pocus," end quote. Incidentally, back in 2020, original film director Kenny Ortega told Forbes, quote, "I'd love to do Hocus Pocus on Broadway. Perhaps Thomas Schumacher, the president of Disney Theatrical Group, would give me a call, and we could talk about it. I think a Hocus Pocus musical would be great fun, really great fun," end quote. So we could see the Sanderson sisters make the trek from Salem to the Great White Way, or is this all just a bunch of Hocus Pocus? We'll have to wait and see. Just in time for Halloween, fans of Hocus Pocus can check out a very special Airbnb location outside of Salem, Massachusetts. The cottage hosts 2 guests and has 2 bedrooms, 2 beds, and a half-bath outhouse, with the listing reading, "As though untouched by time, our creaky old cottage stands tall amidst the trees, beckoning visitors as if by trance. Enter by window or water wheel, but watch your step, a cobweb or 2 and the smoke from our cauldron await you inside." The booking opens at 1 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, October 12th, for an exclusive stay on Thursday, October 20th. However, this one-night stay is not a contest, and guests are responsible for their own travel, by broomstick or otherwise. Obviously, the odds are highly unlikely that you'll have a chance to stay at this property, but you can still find more info on Airbnb. During Disney's 2020 Investor Day presentation, it was announced that Don Cheadle would reprise his role as James Rhodes, aka War Machine, in a Disney Plus series titled Armor Wars. However, after the show was left off of the MCU release timelines revealed at this year's San Diego Comic-Con and the D23 Expo, fans wondered about the fate of the project. Now, according to Variety, the show will apparently be reworked to become a feature film instead. Yasser Lester, who was originally set as the series' head writer, remains attached to write the script for the readapted project. As for when the movie will be released and whether it could potentially be Marvel's first direct-to-Disney Plus film, no details have been announced just yet. Marvel fans looking forward to the long-anticipated release of Deadpool 3 got even more reason to be excited this past week, as it was revealed that Hugh Jackman will be reprising his role as Wolverine in the film. The announcement was made via a video posted by star Ryan Reynolds, where he even references the fact that they missed the D23 Expo. Jackman last appeared in 2017's Logan, where, spoiler alert, the character was killed. Thus, there are plenty of questions about Wolverine's appearance in Deadpool 3, including just how long he'll be on screen. Hopefully these questions will be answered as we near the film's release on September 6th, 2024. A new documentary that will surely spark the interest of Disney Parks fans is in the works. Jeff Tremaine, whose previous credits include directing Jackass Forever, has signed on to produce the film Stolen Kingdom. Among the topics that this doc will cover is the theft of the Buzzy audio animatronic from Epcot's former Wonders of Life pavilion. The film is also said to chronicle a 30-year history of wrongdoing and debauchery at Walt Disney World. At this time, no additional details about Stolen Kingdom or a potential release date have been announced. And now it's time to bring in Kyle Burbank from laughingplace.com. Hey, Kyle.
Hey, Jeff.
How's your spooky season going?
It's happening. I guess it's October. I'm trying to think if I've done anything spooky besides Oogie Boogie, and I don't think I have. We still have candy from Oogie Boogie Bash, so it feels like but yeah, I forget that Halloween is still a month away because we did the party, and then I know, my friends go to Halloween Horror Nights, but I had something about Halloween come up, and I was like, oh, but that's like right around the corner, like it's next week, it's probably too late. I'm like, oh no, we still have a whole nother almost a full month.
As someone who covers Halloween events, I will tell you that September has quickly become even busier than October because all of the press events are, early on in the season for these big things. I recently did, in fact, last night, I did Shacktoberfest.
I saw you Instagram that.
Yeah, the new event presented by Shaq down at the Queen Mary. I gotta tell you, I actually had a lot of fun. I went in probably with not the highest expectations, but also just I don't know what this is. Is this going to be fun? It was a blast, but has nothing to do. Well, I guess you could tie the Queen Mary into Disney considering they were going to develop that land at one point, but that's a whole other podcast episode.
But would you say that event was a slam dunk?
Oh, boom. He was there. I was about 5 feet from Shaq. So
So really, you were 15 feet from his head. I
was arm's length away. If he stretched his long arm, he would have been able to touch me. So, yeah, it was fun.
Did you feel very small, being that close to him?
Honestly, no. He was shorter than I expected, which I know is a ridiculous thing to say. He's tall. Don't get me wrong. He's much taller than me, but I've seen just taller people in normal everyday life.
Because have you met Robin Lopez?
No, I don't even know who that is.
He's a big Disney fan, and he's in the NBA. And yeah, even just shaking his hand just, you feel so small.
You know whose hand I shook? And this is not going to sound like a good story these days, but I shook Bill Cosby's hand. And I just remember his hand, going beyond my wrist and being this is a big hand. But in any case, we have so gone off the rails and we've just started here. Let's jump into some more current Disney news. Of course, we've got to take a moment to talk about Hurricane Ian. And listen, a lot of people all over Florida and beyond were affected terribly by this storm. In comparison to talking about theme park closures, there are obviously far worse things that happened. So our thoughts are with those folks whose lives have been totally uprooted due to this terrible storm. But in lighter Hurricane Ian related news, the Walt Disney World theme parks did indeed need to shut down entirely for 2 days. How cute. 2 days, right?
Exactly. When we were talking about this leading up to it, I remember when, I forget which, was it, with the other I one a few years ago?
Yeah. They're
Irma.
They're annual things now. Oh yeah, Irma, yeah.
Yeah, that was like, because usually it was a 1 day closure. Irma was a 2 day. And I remember like seeing that and I was in a meeting and I'm like, hey, I need to go write this real fast. And it was just like, the biggest story. And now I'm like, oh, yeah, they'll probably close for a couple days. Whatever. Like,
Yeah.
because of that longer closure, it's like, yeah, whatever.
Yep, times have changed. So yeah, they did need to close down for 2 days, which, listen, that is a big deal for Walt Disney World, but obviously not in light of what we recently went through. But, it sucks if you're on vacation, especially if this is your first time to Walt Disney World or something. It sucks if your flights get canceled. It's horrible. They make the best of it from what I can see, and just major applause to the cast members who show up to work, whether it's people working in the kitchen, whether it's friends of different Disney characters who are there entertaining the kids, anybody who's coming into work. Listen, these folks live in Florida and their homes could be in danger, or they could just simply have a hard time getting to work. So massive applause to them. I hadn't seen anything majorly destroyed in the Disney parks. The big thing I kept seeing was the side of the wall at Universal Studios Islands of Adventure for Jurassic Park River Adventure, basically completely, broke into it. I didn't see anything like that for Walt Disney World. Did you hear of anything?
There was the tarp over Test Track. There was also debate. We're like, oh, did they take that down ahead of time or did it blow away? We don't really know, but that was gone. I did see a couple of photos of some flooded things at Disney Springs, but like really, like right up against the water, so it makes sense, unfortunately. But yeah, nothing major for sure.
Yeah, so thank you to all the cast members who just kept it going, and to everybody who was there on vacation. I hope that, it is, I mean, if you look at it this way, it's a pretty rare opportunity you have. You are seeing forms of Disney entertainment and things happening that very few people get to. So there is that, if you want to look on the bright side of it. But yeah, it's tough when your vacations are affected that way. And I don't know how they... I know that they had leniency as far as hotel cancellations and stuff like that, but I don't know how they handle theme park tickets for people who are already there.
I think if you had a multi-day ticket, you can use the remaining days anytime before September 30th of next year. I should probably look this up, but I feel like there was some sort of major extension where you'll be able to use those days in the future.
But once again, a lot of people, especially these days with the price hikes and everything, a lot of people, it is once in a lifetime vacations or once every 5 years sort of vacations. So, I'm sure if you fought it, you could probably get a refund. I don't want to say that is not for certain by any means, but if you were just I'm never going to use these, I hope that they would make an exception. But obviously that's not going to be the first thing that Disney goes to. They're not going to first be like, hey, yeah, sure, take your money back. They're going to try and get you to use it at some point. So
yeah, I just looked up their thing. It says partially used multi-day theme park tickets with a validity window impacted by the closure due to Hurricane Ian will be automatically extended to allow the remaining unused ticket days through September 30th, 2023. You'll still need to make a reservation for those days that you want to use, just as a reminder.
Alrighty. Well, let's move on to some better news, and that is that Epcot recently celebrated its 40th anniversary, and of course that means that Walt Disney World as a whole recently celebrated its 51st anniversary. That, of course, happened on October 1st, and it was interesting because leading up to it, there was not a ton of announcements about, making a big deal out of Epcot's 40th, right? And I feel like there were a lot of people online upset about this. Hey, this is a big milestone. Why are we not talking about this?
Oh, I don't think that I can't really remember as far as non-castle parks having anniversaries. I feel there's usually some sort of celebration. I don't remember there being anything really huge, but I'm sure someone will correct me there.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it was they just didn't really announce much in advance, but they did do a good amount of stuff for it. First of all, of course...
They reopened the park, is what they did.
They did reopen the park, yeah, that was good. But they, of course, special events, special anniversary, there's going to be specialty merchandise, and this is, I believe, what drew the longest lines. I've read up to 4 hours in some cases. There was, at the Creations shop, there was 40th anniversary merchandise, of course, Figment stuff and Spirit jerseys and all that jazz. Specialty treats, of course, are part of it. Now, something nice everybody going into the park gets, the 40th anniversary guide map, which are becoming, just guide maps in general are becoming more rare. So it's kind of a cool collectible at this point. Everybody also got a classic Epcot, a commemorative poster, like it was a holographic poster. They were also playing some of the classic music as you entered. There was a new PhotoPass magic shot. They did have a bit of a ceremony where the Mariachi Cobre performed, and two of the members performing were actually opening day employees or cast members.
Oh, wow.
Which is crazy. And then the Voices of Liberty sang When You Wish Upon a Star, mixed in with a video of Walt talking about his dream of Epcot. And I think the thing that is apparently like the future of Epcot now is just new beacons of magic whenever there's something to celebrate, which I'm all for, because they did a new Beacons of Magic for the 40th anniversary, featured some retro stuff like Horizons and Figment, and kind of cool. So, they did stuff to celebrate, and it looked like it was a fairly crowded day, especially given it was right after a hurricane. And, anything in particular that, like, piqued your interest?
I didn't watch so they called it a celebration moment, and then our video of it is 40 minutes long. So moment, very, how does a moment last forever, Celine asked. And now,
But if life were made of moments, even now and then a bad one. But if life were only moments, then you'd never know you had one. Anyway.
But I did watch the Beacon of Magic. I thought that was cool. And of course, the thumbnail that you'll see is the Epcot logo with all those different colors and swirls and stuff. Looked really cool. But yeah, no, I don't think that I think people maybe were hoping for more of an ongoing thing. Like a lot of this stuff was just for the one day. There's not something that's performing for it. And I think it's just kind of bad timing because you have the 50th is still going. And now next year they're going to be doing the Walt Disney Company's 100th. So doesn't really make sense to introduce like a new show for Epcot's 40th. It's going to tie into one of the other two things. So aside from that, the fact that there's not more of an ongoing thing, I think that they celebrated the day itself pretty well.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, you're exactly correct. It's the 50th anniversary is still ongoing, and they're just not going to compete with that. And I mean, look at what we got for the 50th. So I mean, and that's a bigger deal than the 40th. So. Yeah, the thing I'll just never be able to understand are these merchandise lines. I really, God bless the people if it brings them a tremendous amount of joy. I just don't believe that many people that get that much joy out of merchandise.
Well, I think people wanted the dated stuff. So it's probably people that want to sell it on eBay. The stuff that says October 1st that you can only get on that day.
Do you think that's the majority, though? That's what I always try and figure out. I'm like, it can't be the majority of people doing it.
I don't think so, but I think there's enough. I think there's an overlap of Disney fans that if they're not selling it on eBay, they want to have that. They have that FOMO where like, this has the date. I'm never going to be able to get this. I'm here today. I need to buy this. Whereas a lot of the other stuff, some of it is sold out on Shop Disney. It could come back because, the 40th is ongoing. But yeah, some of the stuff was available on Shop Disney, but I don't think any of the dated merchandise was. That was exclusive. And that's probably what a lot of the longer lines were. My friend went that evening and waited a half hour.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely died down by the end of the day. So very cool. Speaking of Epcot, the Epcot International Festival of the Holidays returns on November 25th. In addition to festive food, drinks, and decorations, the Candlelight Processional will also return for the season. The Disney Parks blog released the lineup of celebrity narrators, including a few new additions to this year's festival. Let's start with the new ones. Actually, let's start with the returning. We've got Edward James Olmos, Whoopi Goldberg, Isabella Rossellini, Neil Patrick Harris, Cal Ripken Jr., Marie Osmond, Courtney Vance, and Angela Bassett. Now let's go to the newbies. We got Simu Liu, we've got Raul Esparza, Damon John, Disney legend Josh Gad, Gloria Estefan, Mariska Hargitay, and that's it. No, not on this list, a little surprising, Jodie Benson.
No Jodie, no Amy Grant.
Yeah, some of the I mean, this does feel like a short list because it goes for a very long time. So do you think there's just people not announced yet? Like they're still working out contracts and stuff?
I don't think so because it says so when they first put up the list, they had a couple TBDs and then the next day they updated them with Simu and Damon John. So I'm like, you couldn't have figured that out? Like, it's kind of like all these D23-esque announcements that are coming out after D23. You're like, couldn't lock that down just a little bit earlier.
Listen, lawyers are lawyers, man. They get in the way sometimes. But yeah, anybody that you're excited about, anybody new that you're like, oh, cool, that'll be fun.
Well, the last two that you mentioned, or the two that got added to the list last, Simu Liu is Shang-Chi, so that should be pretty cool. And then Damon John is an interesting choice. I think he would do a really awesome job.
From Shark Tank, right?
From Shark Tank, yeah, and Fubu. It's a brand. You probably saw it in the 90s. You're old.
Oh, wow.
We're the same age. But no, also Josh Gad. I think, anyone who saw his Legends speech, I think will be expecting some lighthearted fun injected into some sort of serious moments. I don't think he's going to make a total mockery of it. I think it'll just be a nice evening. And also, before anyone gets mad, Whoopi Goldberg, also Disney legend.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Other Disney legends on the list as well. I'm sure there's probably ones I'm forgetting, but that one stands out to me.
I apologize in advance to Aaron Wallace. Disney legend Whoopi Goldberg, excuse me. Still, I say every year I would fly into town for Candlelight Processional if they got Rick Moranis to do a reading. Hasn't happened, so I don't know. Still waiting for Shrunk,
Simu Liu is Canadian, so if that's half credit? Okay.
No. That's not going to get me to fly in. But in any case, guests can secure a spot at the show by booking a Candlelight Processional dining package, which will go on sale October 6th. Now, Kyle, I know that we're still in the middle of the Halloween season, but the fact is that Disney is making a lot of Christmas announcements, and some folks are even thinking about holiday shopping already. So if that happens to be any of our listeners, I have two opportunities for them to save on some totally unique holiday gifts. Over at Who's It's and What's It's, they can find all sorts of magically inspired apparel, and at Souvenir Scents, they have candles and wax melts featuring favorite scents from the theme parks. In both cases, listeners can save 15% off of their total order simply by using code DCTC when they check out. You can find links to both Who's It's and What's It's and Souvenir Scents in this episode's description, and don't forget to use discount code DCTC. Now, back to the news. It has been reported that Seth Rogen's production company, Point Grey, is developing a film based on the impish dragon Figment from the original Epcot attraction, Journey into Imagination. The film is set to be written by Benji Samit and Dan Hernandez, who brought the critically acclaimed Pokemon Detective Pikachu to the screen. How do we feel about this?
I think it could be interesting. This was another one of those where people were like, oh, so maybe that's what was with the weird Figment meet and greet announcement. Maybe they wanted to announce something else about Figment and just couldn't lock it down in time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not judging yet. I really enjoyed, not that this has anything to do with it, except that Seth Rogen's actually in it. The Chippendale Rescue Rangers, I thought, was a ton of fun. Mm-hmm. So I have reason to believe that this could be fun.
That begs the question then, is this Disney Plus, do you think, or do you think this is going to go to theaters?
I would think it's Disney Plus. I guess it depends, but my initial knee-jerk reaction would be Disney Plus.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you. It'll be interesting. I mean, I saw one of the Pikachu movies. Was there more than one?
So,
or
Pokemon movies, but then Detective Pikachu was the one that had the voice of Ryan Reynolds.
Okay, then I'm not sure that I saw that one then. But one of the Pokemon movies, the one that has the Smith kid in it, I did not care for. So I don't know if it's related to that at all. But it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like Pokemon Detective Pikachu is something different. So, I don't know. We'll see. I wish... this isn't what I want for Figment. I want a ride, right? But hey, if this does super well, we'll get a ride. If it bombs, we'll never get a ride. This will be the excuse to never update that attraction. But we'll see what happens.
We'll get a new popcorn bucket.
That's right. A popcorn bucket in a different pose so that they can, sell out like crazy and wait in 4-hour lines, because that's what happens at Epcot, apparently. Let's move on. James Earl Jones has voiced Darth Vader for nearly 40 years and will be stepping back from this role. The 91-year-old actor has signed the rights to his voice over to filmmakers using new AI technology. Now, I saw in the Laughing Place article, it said that he even recently starred as the character in the new Obi-Wan Kenobi series that can be found on Disney+. I had heard a lot of people saying that AI technology was used in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Did you not hear that?
I heard that, but he was credited. He's credited, so I don't know if they've said one way or the other. And if he's only signing over the thing now, I guess that just means indefinitely, and the other thing was like a one-off. So I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, I have a feeling, if I had to guess, and I don't know for certain, but if I had to guess, they were probably using this technology already, and it was just one of those things that were like, hey, you're 91, you're not going to be here forever, and let's just make things easy and not complicated when the time comes that you're no longer here. Can you sign this over? That's my guess.
Can you believe he's 91?
Yeah, I can, because I feel like he's been around forever.
But I feel like maybe I haven't seen him recently, but I just,
He's a big theater guy. He does a lot of theater. In fact, they just named a Broadway theater after him. I don't know which theater it, changed the name, but there's the James Earl Jones Theater on Broadway now. And you know what movie I actually think of? It's not Star Wars when I think of James Earl Jones, speaking of kid of the 90s.
Is it Lion King?
It's not Lion King, although that would make sense. It's The Sandlot.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not the CNN stinger?
It's what?
CNN.
Oh, no, is that him?
This
I didn't
is
even know
CNN?
that. I don't know. He may be. But yeah, no, The Lion King would make sense. But no, The Sandlot is like the first time I remember seeing him on screen. And I remember my aunt being like, oh, that's James Earl Jones. And I was like, who's that? And then, you find out eventually when you get a little older, and he's, truly a treasure. So I think it's good that, they're taking care of the character, and, he's 91. Don't make the man keep doing it if he's
It's also good to get permission instead of just doing it, and because it's probably a contractual gray area in some cases, and so it's good that they're trying to be on the right side of things.
Yeah, I would agree. Now, Kyle, I know that you're not the biggest Hocus Pocus fan, but this past weekend, it was a pretty big deal. We got Hocus Pocus 2. Just curious, did you see it?
So my wife put it on in the background. I don't know if she finished it. She wanted to watch it because we like the guy whose name I just forgot, but he's
Doug
on
Jones?
Veep. No.
Oh, Tony Hale.
No, Tony Hale's good too.
He's on Veep, right?
Tony Hale is on Veep, yeah. But Sam Richardson. That's what I thought. I just wasn't sure. So yeah, it's a little Veep reunion. I forgot that Tony Hale was in it, but yeah, Sam Richardson plays Richard Splett on Veep, and he's hysterical on that. And so yeah, that's the only reason she put it on. And I saw that they were in a Walgreens at one point.
That was a really good scene. As far as I got. Yeah, the Walgreens was a great scene. So you don't have much opinion on it, it sounds like.
No opinion. I don't care to watch it because yeah.
Well, I was lucky enough to see it on the big screen, so I was very happy to have that opportunity.
That is cool.
And listen, it's not Hocus Pocus, because that's a really tall order to fill, I would say. But it was an enjoyable movie overall. I'll just make it real quick, and there are two things about it. The thing that bothered me most, I would say, is inconsistencies to the, related to the original film. There were some minor contradictions, or some kind of not so minor, but those bothered me because I'm just such a continuity person in general, and when it becomes part of official canon, as it is in Hocus Pocus 2, I'm like, well, you're negating the first one. So that bothered me. But the thing that really drove me nuts, and this is kind of a spoiler, but it spoils nothing storyline-wise, so I don't mind saying it. There is a scene where Winifred's flying through the sky, peeks in a window, and there's a couple sitting on their couch watching a movie. Guess what movie they're watching?
Is it Hocus Pocus?
Yeah, they're watching Hocus Pocus. And it was done as a tribute to Penny and Gary Marshall, because it's like that scene. So you don't see the Sanderson sisters or anything, but anybody who catches that reference is gonna know that that's Hocus Pocus. And it drove me nuts. I was like, I just can't get over this. It
should have been. They should have been watching Practical Magic, since I confuse the two all the time.
Okay. Well, it drove me nuts. I'm sure there are many fans out there who are like, oh, it was a nice tribute and feel that way. I do not. I was like, nope, you just made a multiverse. And frankly, I'm pissed about it. So but what I will say that I really liked was the three actresses still were great together. I laughed out loud a considerable amount watching this movie. I thought the end was much more touching than I expected it to be. A little bit contradictory, but still very touching. And yeah, I enjoyed the movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's not Hocus Pocus, but I didn't expect it to be. And
do they use the word yabos at all?
They don't use the word yabos. There are no yabos, and I don't even...
But there are lots of virgins, aren't there?
I was going to say, they do mention virgins, but it's not as heavy-handed as first time around. So, yeah, there's that. And before we go, I just want to remind folks that this upcoming Sunday, October 9th, if you happen to be in Southern California, I will be at the Frida Cinema, which is just 7 miles from Disneyland, and I'm producing an event called an Oogie Boogie Afternoon. There are 2 parts to this event. Part 1 includes a panel with folks from Disney Live Entertainment and Walt Disney Imagineering about the creation of Disneyland Resort's Oogie Boogie Bash Halloween Party. The panel will include the Oogie Boogie Bash creator and show director Jordan Peterson, lighting and projection designer Casey Wilkerson, and producer Jennifer McGill. Then, after that panel, we're showing The Nightmare Before Christmas on the big screen. You'll also get some keepsake takeaways, and this is all included in the price of your ticket, so head to the Frida, Frida, cinema.org for tickets, or simply click the link in the show notes. And I'm looking really forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Wish you could be here, Kyle, but somebody from the Laughing Place team will be there, right?
He will, yeah. So I'm looking forward to hearing all about it.
Yeah, it should be a fun time. So, folks, if you're in SoCal, I would love to see you there. Head to thefreedacinema.org, grab your tickets, and let's have a fun Sunday, shall we? And the good thing is it starts at 3 p.m., so if you have Halloween activity plans for that evening, you can go to this. We'll be done by 5:30, and you can go and scare yourself later that night. So, excellent. Anything else you want to add, Kyle, before we get going?
I don't think so.
Alrighty, I'll talk to you next time. Have a good one.
You too.
To read more about any and all of the stories you've heard here today, simply visit the show notes link in this episode's description. You've heard the news, and now I want to hear what you have to say about it. Do you have a favorite narrator announced for Epcot's Candlelight Processional? Share your thoughts on that or any other topics mentioned in today's episode. Call 818-860-2569, and you may just hear yourself on a future episode of Disney Coast to Coast. Thanks for tuning into this episode. Don't miss any future episodes by subscribing and following Disney with a Z, Coast to Coast on your favorite podcast app. This episode has been executive produced by Mackenzie Jalen Arnold. Gain rewards like Mackenzie, including access to never-before-heard episodes and livestream Q&As, by visiting the Patreon link in this episode's description. And this month, in honor of the release of Hocus Pocus 2, I'll be matching 100% of your first month subscription to Bette Midler's charity, the New York Restoration Project, where they believe that access to nature is a fundamental human right. You can learn more about the New York Restoration Project in the show notes. Basically, anything you need can be found in this episode's description, from additional information and links discussed in this episode found in the show notes, to the DCTC hotline where you can leave a voicemail and be heard on a future episode, access to the show's official website, some free gifts from me to you, and so much more. So be sure to check out this episode's description. Other than that, folks, have a magical day. Bye!
Thanks for listening to Disney Coast to Coast. Have a magical day.
Disney Coast to Coast is produced and hosted by Jeff DePauli. Learn more about the podcast and become a supporter at DisneyCoastToCoast.com. This podcast is part of the DePodcast Network. Learn more about this show, plus find more quality and entertaining podcasts at DePodcastNetwork.com. That's DEPodcastNetwork.com.